Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Den Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel podcast. With you, as always, is Ricky. And, of course, Dennis. This is episode
Wait, which one of us
117.
is which?
I'm Dennis.
Oh, okay, gotcha. It was just a funny way to introduce yourself. You're like, with us as always is Ricky.
I was looking at you when I said it, and I knew I messed up. But we didn't mess up as bad as Warner Brothers did with their release of Aquaman. Is it And the Lost Kingdom, right? And the Lost Kingdom.
It's And the Lost Kingdom.
And the Lost Kingdom. That movie came out today, ladies and gentlemen. Throwback to how we used to do the show. We saw the movie last night, and we're talking about it live with you tonight, or later on in Spotlight. But
Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning.
Yeah, spoilers. For the 10 of you who went to go see it so far, spoilers.
How full was your theater?
I had 6 people in my theater, and
you saw it at night too, right?
Yeah. So I went to a 6:30 showing.
Oh, no.
Am I the asshole here? Okay, I went to a theater I don't normally go to. I saw it in IMAX. 6 people in an IMAX theater. It's not a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
When I get into the theater, the rows are not numbered. So usually it's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I find where relatively row H is, and I had H8, right? I'm sitting there. I'm the first person in the theater, mind you. About 5 minutes before the movie starts, a couple walks in. They walk up the stairs, and they walk over to me, and they're like, "Excuse me, you're in my seat." And I moved. Mind you, this is a completely empty theater. It is me, these 2 other people.
I mean, wait, are you asking if you're the asshole for moving or for being upset that you had to move?
Both?
No, you're not the asshole for moving, because if that legitimately was their seats, you should observe the rules of society.
They were at least in the middle zone, we'll say. 3 rows above me and 3 rows below me. I could have been crazy. I could have said no.
I mean, I don't understand what you mean when you say that they were at least 3 rows above or below.
I'm saying, like, if the
saw their
roles
ticket
were
numbers?
reverse, to be fair, I don't know if I was even in the right seat or if I was in the wrong seat. I just conceded.
I mean, that right there is
because there was no rows. But I just, you know what? It's an empty theater. I'm just gonna sit where I think my seat's at.
Yeah. You sound crazy. You sound like a crazy man. You know that, right?
If I had, I'd be like, you know what? I'll just sit a row above them.
So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking you went to a theater that maybe, or a screening that you don't normally go to, or a screen that you're not.
Completely new theater.
Exactly. And so you may not be familiar with how to find the numbers and letters.
I searched for 2 minutes, which is more
that
than
mean that doesn't mean that it wasn't there somehow.
No, it doesn't.
And so what you're saying is, since you didn't know how those things were labeled, you took a best guess, and then when somebody else came in and clearly knew that those were those seats, or spoke with confidence at least,
I moved.
You moved, and now you're angry that you moved, and that's interesting to me. You know what?
I'm gonna sit above me, sit below me.
I'm gonna put a pin in that and say you should probably talk to a therapist more about this.
I probably should.
Probably should.
Oh, how was your Aquaman viewing experience?
It was terrible. Not just because of the movie. The funny thing is, I got so one, I had a lot of things going on yesterday, so like I kind of was going off memory what time the show was. So I think the reason I was scared is because like my theater's like blocks away from my house, so I was just gonna hoof it over there, or wheel it over there, whatever you want to call it. And so I just kind of had it in my mind what time I needed to be there. But I also had done a weather forecast and found out it was supposed to start raining like after 3. So because the movie was at 3:30 and the forecast had rain at 3, I kind of got those numbers mixed up in my head. So next thing you know, I'm leaving the house what I thought was right at the show time because I was going to try and miss like 15 minutes of trailers.
Yeah.
I arrived at the theater 15 minutes before the trailers even started.
Wow. Too much
And
time on the clock.
I was so mad already. I was like, no, I have to be here for this extra amount of time. And then the other bummer was it was an IMAX 3D showing, and the 3D broke 3 times in the movie, and eventually they didn't even try to fix it, and so they just gave everybody a free ticket afterwards, which is a cool thing, I guess, but like if you pay to see an experience a certain way, you know what I mean? Like it's a bummer when it doesn't work. Like it was really bummer because like the way IMAX 3D works, like if the 3D cuts out, you feel like you go blind because your right eye it goes gray. Everything in your right eye goes really
Yeah.
super. And so you're like, and so you had to like take the stupid glasses off and then put them back on when some guy would be annoyed enough to get up and go outside and miss part of the movie to go tell everybody. And like that was the funniest part is because it actually happened 3 times, like something bad happened 3 times before. The trailer for Dune was playing, and that went completely black screen before the movie started. And everybody got a little nervous there because it's like we could tell it was the last trailer. Somebody had to leave. We were listening to the trailer for Dune, and then somebody left. They were the hero, came back. Thankfully, the screen came back up right before the movie started. And then each time something bad happened, another person would be the hero.
It was a
Like,
different person each time.
yeah, because like it would suck to be the one guy who has to miss the movie 3 times because of stupid stuff. But on that last time when the 3D finally cut out about like 45 minutes into the movie, nobody got it. Everybody's just like collectively like, nah, we're just gonna roll with it. And so like we all just stayed in the theater and just watched them because everybody had reached that limit of annoyance, you know what I mean? And now we're just like, this movie better at least be decent because we've already been annoyed so much. So that's unfortunate. The worst part I think was when I actually like the last movie I saw in theaters had a mess up too.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I think
Sounds like your theater's going downhill.
I know, right? So before this movie started, I said to myself, I really hope this one goes off without a hitch. And then it just hitch after hitch after hitch. So that's unfortunate. And I think it's important that we let the viewers know, like before we start talking about Aquaman later in the show, we all have our own little things that we bring to the theater and the movie when we watch it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You never know what kind of mindset you're going to be in. That said, like there's other, circumstances that went into it, right? We had talked about how like there was no red carpet premiere for this movie,
This
right?
was like so it's the end of the DCEU, 10 years of storytelling in the DC space from Warner
10,
Brothers.
10 years of disjointed storytelling.
Disjointed through how many movies were there?
It's probably
8,
like 10,
9, 10
10,
movies.
something like
Let's say
that.
10. And yeah, this movie did not have a premiere. They did a press event Monday with James Wan and Jason Momoa, and then the movie was embargoed till yesterday morning. Which usually, if you have a good movie, you have a pretty cool premiere, and then you tell them to talk about it immediately because you want that good press. So
Yeah,
when they tell you not to talk about the movie, that doesn't it's not a great thing.
it's not a good sign. Yeah.
No.
So I saw a weird TikTok like clip where it was like showing a press like interview or whatever, where it was like Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson, and I'm trying to remember if there was a third person there. Like they were kind of doing the interviews for the just discuss the movie. It was like an open Q&A kind of thing, and the clip was him talking about Momoa talking about how when he originally auditioned for Aquaman, he thought he was auditioning for Lobo, and this whole conversation that was just a giant clip on TikTok from Warner Brothers is just a discussion about him being Lobo instead of promoting Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which there's a nice poster of it behind him while he's talking. But it's like a 2-minute clip of him talking about Lobo and how he thought he was going to be Lobo and how excited he was to be Lobo and stuff. And I'm like, this is like the worst promotion I've ever seen for a movie called Aquaman and the Last Kingdom. It's cool. Maybe Warner Brothers is already testing the waters to see like what people react to. Like, do you want to see him as Lobo? We're just
Well, I mean, they're already
we're
like
just
Warner Brothers
curious.
is not doing so hot right now. Period.
I know. It's rough.
Not like in movie review space, but they're the rumor mills are floating that they are trying to be purchased, or Paramount is trying to purchase Warner Brothers.
Oh my god, that would be
So
so weird.
one
You
less
know,
app, one less streaming app.
that's no man. That's when you look at it like that, you are missing so much of the craziness of this world. You know, can you imagine that? Like, that's so weird that like a studio as huge as Warner Brothers is suddenly like enveloped by. I mean that it happened before.
It happened like 2 years
Yeah,
ago, 3 years
I
ago now.
know. It's so crazy. It's just so crazy the conglomerations that are happening here. It's so weird. But you know, I guess on the bright side, you could finally get a live action Ninja Turtles Batman crossover if that happened.
Is that worth it?
The comic's pretty cool, and they did an animated. They've done a lot of stuff. They've made a whole toy line.
You can
out
do
of it.
Turtles Scooby Doo, right?
You could do a lot of things with the turtles. Is basically yes, or SpongeBob, or both. You know what I mean? Like you could do, yeah. Teen Titans Go, and Teen Turtle or Ninja Turtles. They've actually done. They've done an episode where they kind of like referenced them without actually ever saying their names. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Okay. I'm kind of on board now. All right. I can get over it if you just like get past the whole nightmare scenario of like these mega corporations consuming each other. I can be cool.
Yeah, I mean, people my age just already accepted the fact that they want to own a home. Corporate greed is just going to get us all. Once you accept it, you can really start enjoying the content.
Yeah, maybe we should have gone into Aquaman 2 with that theory, that mindset.
Well, we got not a lot of news, but we got two spicy bits of news. You wanna just get right into it?
Okay, I could have talked about Ninja Turtles over and over, but sure.
Wrong show. Kang variant Jonathan Majors was found guilty of his domestic violence case in New York earlier this week. And
well, on one count of assault and misdemeanor assault, and one count of harassment, I believe.
And harassment. Okay.
Yeah.
Found guilty.
Yeah.
Within the hour, Disney officially dropped him, Marvel Studios officially dropped him from the MCU. And now, what do you do? What's the move? No one knows what's going to happen yet. They haven't said what's going to happen, but do you recast Kang and continue on with the variant storyline multiverse thing they're going on? Do you sunset Kang and maybe bring in another A player in the villain space? My question to you, Dennis, what do you want first? What's your preferred course of action? Your Iger or Feige?
Well, here's the weird part about this. Like, pie in the sky, if you didn't know how much it takes to make the sausage, it would be nice, like from a fan point of view, to see a huge pivot, right? To just see like, oh, you thought we were gonna go this way, and hey, we're pretty cool. We're flexible. We can lean. We can just totally go in a different direction. Now Doctor Doom's the bad guy. Boom. You know, he just wipes out the whole Kang Council at the end of a movie in a post-credit scene, and now it's Doctor Doom, and that would be awesome, right? And they just scrap King Dynasty, rename it.
Well, they already so the next Avengers movie is called King Dynasty, or was called King Dynasty. That movie is now untitled again. It's just an Avengers film.
Okay, well you can then maybe they've. Here's the thing though, they've had enough time that they could pivot, right? Like they could, in theory they could.
Mhm.
To what degree? Not sure. Like, are we still gonna get the kind of Amber Heard situation where she's still showing up for way more of that movie than you think she's gonna? I doubt that. I doubt that. I think we could pivot, but I think I would like to see an entire franchise or not devoted to Kang. Like I like Kang. I think he's a cool character. I don't think he's like I don't think he was ever on Thanos's level, like for like
Mhm.
in the comics. I think he's an Avengers villain, yes. I think what makes Thanos so awesome is he's an everyone villain, you know? Do you
So
know what I
so
mean? Like,
Kang skews more Ultron,
yes,
not Thanos.
yes.
Okay.
Kang and Ultron are like top 2 or 3 Avengers villains. You know, it's like Loki, Kang, Ultron. Those are
Mhm.
like the greatest Avengers villains, period. Um, the reason Thanos was so cool is because he transcends the Avengers books. You know what I
He's a
mean?
universe villain.
Yeah, he's a galactic, thing. Like the Avengers are kind of small scale for him usually. You know what I mean? Like he's so much bigger picture. And I think. Sorry, I should have. No, yeah, it's okay that I said those are the top 3 Avengers villains because the other one is Doctor Doom, but I think I think Doctor Doom is really a Fantastic Four villain that sometimes is also an everyone villain too.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's cooler for because whether or not you want to call these Avengers movies like because they're it's just about Avengers, which it's not, right? Like the last 2 Avengers movies with everyone was in it, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like and so if you've set that as the bar for what your audience should expect from Avengers movies, like where those are the big tent pole, everyone's coming together to fight some evil, then let's not really pretend that it's just an Avengers story anymore, and let's make those the giant crossover events just titled Avengers, because the reality is in the Marvel comics everyone's an Avenger at some point, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So make it
Well, would
worthy
would
of that.
you would a I know Doom skews cosmic,
He does in
but
cool ways.
maybe the Avengers movies that are on deck are coming out back to back within a year. So would a first Avengers movie be a Doom Earth story with transition to a Doom cosmic story?
I wouldn't. It depends. Like, so I wouldn't even mind if the next Avengers movie scales back a little bit
Mhm.
and is just like a young Avengers movie where or it's like
Yeah,
a kind of
mind
the
you, we have
old.
not seen the Avengers since Endgame. Whatever
Right.
team called Avengers.
So what I'm saying is like if it's a young Avengers movie that starts small and
Mhm.
then like as they're doing something as they're uncovering some mystery, it opens up at the end and becomes like this cliffhanger of like a huge galactic threat where, oh crap, we got to go get everybody else, you know what I mean? That kind of thing, like where they just barely saved the world by the skin of their teeth, but now they realize a bigger can of worms has been opened. And so the second part is, where you can bring a Doom in, or you bring Doom in at the very last minute of the movie,
Mhm.
something like that. Does that make sense? Like where we
Yeah.
have it be fun, a kind of a reset, where because I think that's the other thing that's really cool about comics is they're always meant to be like jumping on points because you can't expect somebody to go back and read every comic ever.
Mhm.
So they do storylines where this is just a fun one to do right now, right? Like we could just do this and a lot of people can show up and have fun and not know a lot of the stuff that goes on before it. And I think the best way to do that is with a young Avengers story, right? Where it's just a brand new group of people that, yeah, you might know if you watch Miss Marvel or if you watch Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but But honestly, like, how much does anybody know about
You know what's
America
funny? Like
Chavez? You
by
know
the
what I mean?
time they get to that movie, the people who will be young Avengers will be the
Oh, I
same
know.
age as the Avengers.
I know. That's exactly why you got to start doing it now, because I think the cool part about this universe that they've established is, as long as the actors are down to clown, they can come back whenever they want, right? Unless
Mhm.
they're Scarlett Johansson or Jonathan
Well, she can
Majors.
come back. Well, let's
I
let's
know, I
pivot
know.
then. Let's pivot to option B. You
Okay.
can't the track is laid out. You can't really pivot. Who you casting as Kang?
John David Washington.
Okay. I mean,
That's
he
it.
was he was my pick for
For Mr.
Reed.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for Reed, and I think if you can get him in as Kang, there you go.
It's that easy. It's that easy. If you gotta I mean,
He
I'm
commands presence.
yeah, he commands presence. We know that he's down to play ball with bigger budget movies. Like he's a good, low budget kind of actor as well. Like he can do the whole thing. We've seen him do like great performances, Black Klansman. We also saw him do, this one's for the check, in the AI movie we watched a few
That
weeks.
movie, they didn't get paid for that movie. That's a very low budget film.
I know it was technically a low budget film, but it looks like a high budget film. You know what I mean? Like it does look really.
If we're gonna go on that tangent real quick, Gareth Edwards is one of the names being shot for Thor 5. 5?
Okay. Okay.
Thor, yeah, Thor 5.
I'm fine with that. That's cool. Yeah. What about you? Who would you go with, John David Washington, or you got another one?
I'll go with a dad. Go Denzel. Because I know there was the rumor stuff for Denzel to be Magneto for a minute, right?
Yes.
That was in the pipe for a bit, but I think Denzel's down to play, and I think you need to get him sooner than later. And you can have this grand Avengers movie with Denzel, and then be done with it. Be done with it then.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna say no to it because he's a cool actor, but at the same time, like I think that's a short-sighted way of looking at it, because, like, let me remind you, there is another thing that came out today that we won't be discussing in depth until next week. But What If season 2 started today,
Mhm.
and the thing I love about What If is that show can go forever as long as those actors want to keep coming back to play. And you don't understand like how many Kang stories I want to
Yeah, but
see.
you can. I mean, let's be fair. The elite A player actors are not doing their voices in What If.
I'm just saying, this first episode is about my favorite character in the MCU, and she was down. She
I
was down.
watched it before this.
I loved it. I
Is
loved it.
Karen Gillan on the same scale as Denzel in terms of celebrity status?
Karen Gillan has contributed way more to the MCU than Denzel ever will.
Not a question. I thought I answered to the question.
Yeah,
Who is the bigger celebrity?
I'm saying she's an A player in the MCU.
If I show a picture of Denzel Washington and Karen Gillan to your mom,
that's because Karen Gillan doesn't look anything like Nebula. Nebula is her own person. No, it's not about that. Like for me, it's about
to your point,
how long can this person play in this universe? And
Mhm.
I'm not trying to be ageist or anything like that, but I think
No, you
I
want
think it's
a Kang that can come back, and I think you.
yeah.
My conceit with Denzel is you get him for the big Avengers movie. Kang goes on ice for a couple years, and whenever you want to tap a Kang back in, I mean, if it was any other character, it wouldn't work. But because Kang is everyone and anyone, right?
It just so happens to be like 99% of them all look like Jonathan Majors.
Yeah. You only saw a fraction of.
I saw a picture of his He Who Remains toy on toy shelves,
Uh-huh.
and people are like, more like He Who Will Remain at Ross forever.
It's a collector's item now.
Is it? I don't know if it's a collector's item. There was too many of his toys made. Yeah, good luck to them.
Good luck.
I want to see them
Well,
pivot from
I'll say
this.
that we're set up. It's December. We're going to be talking about Comic-Con 2024. If Disney or if Marvel and DC decide to show up at San Diego Comic-Con, both of them will have some stuff on their plates to show, and it can be a nice revival of what's been kind of a downswing
Yeah,
for both of them.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause
I agree.
the Fantastic Four will be filming. Deadpool would have already had stuff or would
Oh,
be coming out.
Deadpool will be at Comic
You'll
Con. Make no
have
mistake.
Fantastic Four, maybe some Avengers because Avengers starts filming next year too.
Yeah,
Thunderbolts, and then of course Superman will be filming. We're due for some good news coming up in 2024. So
it's true. It's
stay
true.
tuned.
Yeah,
All right.
I think we can pivot from this. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun.
Next up, this past week, Insomniac. It's a Sony studio who is best known recently for the Spider-Man games. They were hacked. A hacker group basically stole they stole a lot of data from the company, including build of their upcoming Wolverine game as well as their roadmap, basically into 2030.
That's
Um,
rough, man. Wow.
did a rough hack and then personal information as well from everyone in the company, involved with the company, contractors. There is a full playable build of the Wolverine game out there right now.
Well, people can play it.
Yes, people can play it or have.
Oh
Yes,
God, that's
but
terrible.
I think it's worth noting that it's still undetermined because you're talking about terabytes and terabytes of data. When this stuff is from, what build this is. You obviously had some time in game development yourself, so things change and will change, and whatever you're
That's why
seeing now is probably not what will be.
but that's why I'm shocked at what you said. What you say, you're saying that the game is actually playable out
There's a
there. Like,
build. There's a
so
build, and
here,
there's a vertical slice out.
so we talked about this briefly, because like you asked me the other day when we were planning for the show, you're like, hey, should I talk about the Insomniac stuff? And I'm like, what? Like what, Wolverine? And you're like, well, yeah, that and all the other stuff. And so my context at the moment when you asked me that was I turned on TikTok like that day and I saw a clip of Wolverine, a Wolverine game. He was in Madripoor. He was doing Wolverine things. It looked very much like Spider-Man, but with Wolverine skin. And I was like, oh, I guess Insomniac shared footage of their Wolverine game, right? I was like, interesting. And I didn't think anything more of it. And I turned off my phone. I didn't even go to the comment section. I was like, interesting. And so when you told me later, no, should we talk about the hack? And I was like, there was a hack. And so at the time when you told me that, like, I assumed I was watching a video clip that was stolen from the hack. But now you're saying I probably watched people actually playing the game and recording it and streaming it.
Yes.
Oh my God. Let me make it clear. That is huge.
Yes,
Like,
it is. It is
really,
like
really
bad.
that is
But
so bad. And the reason it's so bad is besides, all their hard work being out there available to anybody to just consume for free and even not in the context that they want it to be consumed. Dude, people are going to make a billion different games based on that code if they can.
oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
that's crazy. That's crazy. Oh my God.
Well, I don't think it's worth going into the details of the story for the Wolverine game. I don't think that's appropriate. But
Other than I already did.
other than you already saw everything, but I think we can talk about some of the titles of the games on the roadmap that was out there. I think that's relevant.
Fair enough. I mean, like
So,
I like it just in theory, like it just to know what kind of cool things were in the works. It's sad to like, I don't know. Like I don't endorse this. I don't, I'm not a fan of it, but like there is something to be said about things coming to light sometimes. Like in fairness, we wouldn't have Tom Holland as Spider-Man unless, or we wouldn't necessarily have had Tom Holland as Spider-Man had the Sony hacks not happened, all those
Mhm.
years ago, and revealed that, Disney and Sony were in talks, but things weren't going well. And then, once the fans found out about that, the amount of support or hate mail that went towards
Yeah,
pushing
it's kind of
that to
voicing
happen.
opinions.
Yeah.
So
So I don't
this
know if there's something to be gained from that. Why I'm open. I'm open to, like,
so
as a just a person, as a fan. I'm curious.
it's for roughly the next 10 years. And this is their slate. I don't think it's worth to put years or dates on anything because it's just gonna change. But
Yeah.
the next game is Wolverine.
Mhm.
Their next game, a Venom, Let There Be Carnage game, then followed by
Nice.
Wolverine.
You
Following
mean Let There
that,
Be Carnage, as in like a movie or a Maximum Carnage game?
a Venom. Sorry, I totally butchered that. A Venom Lethal Protector game.
Lethal Protector. Okay,
Yes,
that makes
yeah.
more
Sorry,
sense.
Wolverine, Spider-Man 3 Part 1, Spider-Man 3 Part 2,
Okay.
Spider-Verse, and the other big hitter on that list is a X-Men game.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So
Those are not really surprising, except maybe the Venom one, but not even that. Like, that's not even that surprising. Yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. That's a bummer for them. That's a bummer. Like,
it is. I mean, you got because we're like making games is inherently more expensive than most movies. It's a safe bet to say. It's a
um,
bigger risk usually.
I don't know about that. I don't know that it's more expensive than a lot of big movies, and I do think that they do make a lot more money.
They are
They
on
like
par. How about that?
they make a lot more money than a
And
lot
they
of
take a
movies.
lot longer to make.
They do take a lot longer to make. That's
So
true.
all this stuff is up in the air. It'll change. It won't be what you probably hear today. Bummer for these studios, but I mean, it brings me joy that they made a cool Spider-Man game and they got obviously the keys to Wolverine and now they're getting the keys to another pillar of the Marvel
Yeah.
universe.
Well, in fairness though, like, if you're making games and you have a limited supply of characters to choose from with Marvel, if you're if you're starting Marvel games are Spider-Man, Wolverine, Venom, and X-Men, you did something right as a company, because those are
Those are A
easily
players.
those are like all the most popular characters from, as far as mass appeal goes. You know what I mean? Like, those are literally the most mass appealing characters that Marvel has. Like, that's it. Like I think that's why the Venom movies hurt me so much, because I know how many people love Venom as a character. And yeah, that's pretty good job to you, Insomniac. I'm really sorry about how bad this has gone for everybody there. I hope they can recover from all of this, and I hope they can move forward, and I hope they can somehow get some extremely uh, powerful litigation going on with all
People
the people
who
who
have
did this.
downloaded the builds are getting what is it, DCMA, based on their internet service providers, because
Okay.
there's like a validation code in the build, right? There would be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it's bad. You shouldn't. Don't be, if you got that, if you somehow obtained that shit, don't send it my way, guys. Do not. I'm I
don't
thought I
send it my way.
I thought I was being innocent just watching a cool trailer on TikTok. I had no idea what was happening at the time. My bad. That's the
No.
weird power of TikTok, right? Anything
Mhm.
can end up on there.
Well,
Awkward.
just like you, I had no idea what was happening in our spotlight today. Aquaman 2. Aquaman 2. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, directed by James Wan, starring Jason Momoa, Patrick Wilson, Amber Heard, and Yahya Abdul Mateen. Mateen, right?
Yeah, the second.
The second.
Yes.
Um,
and Tamora Morrison
Randall Park,
and Nicole Kidman
Dolph Lundgren.
and Martin Short
Who's
and
Martin
John Reese.
Short?
Martin Short was
The
I
Crab?
guess we're gonna get into spoiler warning once again for everybody. If you tuned in to learn about Aquaman and the
Is he
Lost
the bad
Kingdom,
guy?
no, Martin
Mhm.
Short is the gross Jabba the Hutt ripoff Kingfish in the scene where they're in the Star Wars cantina, but it's
Oh my god.
and Tones and I is singing.
Do you think he knew what he was doing?
I have no idea, but that was Martin Short, bro.
Oh wow, kudos to him.
That was gross. It was such a
That
blatant
fish
ripoff
had
of.
boobs.
I
Like
know
not
that
like why?
that was breaking my brain so
I mean,
hard that
not
that fish
let's
had
it
boobs.
was a fish,
The fish man.
a male presenting fish, a fish, right? With man boobs.
He had man boobs. Yes. My brain was breaking so hard that I couldn't even like process that was Martin Short until I saw the credits later, and I was like,
Wow.
"Oh my
I
god,
can't
that
believe you
was
stayed
Martin
till the
Short."
credits.
I stayed to the credits. I am a lifelong fan of look, we're gonna hate on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom a lot in the next 20 minutes or so, but make no mistake, like I don't take pleasure out of being upset when these movies are bad. Like it actually really upsets me because like I care. I care so much even about like I know Clark was here last week saying, "Hey, I've known you for like 20 plus years. You've always hated Aquaman." That is true. I have always hated Aquaman, but I appreciate that Aquaman exists and I
Do
appreciate
you when Jason Momoa was cast as Aquaman, is a pretty big departure from what that character usually looks like. Are on its face value, do you like Jason Momoa as a version of Aquaman?
I on face value, I don't mind the Polynesian, race swap if you want to call it that. I think that's the inappropriate way to call it, but like, um, that's the layman term. Is the Polynesian take on Aquaman is really cool. I think that's an awesome idea. I think like I have no problem with taking characters that are historically like too many white characters and just like adding some culture across the board that makes sense. Like when you told me when they first explained to me that we're gonna change Atlanteans to be ancient Mayans. On paper, I'm like, hey, wait a second, that's kind of weird because Atlanteans are based on the Greek gods and all this stuff. But the more I thought about it, I was like, is it really cool that we're going to have two franchises both rocking Atlanteans at the same time? And you're just going to be
Well, they're technically
comparing
not
the cast.
Atlanteans in the MCU.
That's what I'm saying. That's a choice they made.
Hmm.
They chose to go a different direction from the comics.
We might have not gotten that had we had gotten the Aquaman movies. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. And so I don't mind that. I don't mind that we had two fresh, different takes on the thing. And um, I also don't mind the idea that Aquaman could be half white and half Polynesian because he represents this weird bridge of cultures, right? Like in the way he is in the movies, right? He's bridging two cultures um, in real life and in our fictional world too,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's a good choice. It was a good choice. Obviously, the Justice League needs a little bit more brown in it than it historically has had. So all of that on paper, great. That said, I don't think Jason Momoa is a great actor, dude. Like I don't, I've never thought he was, and so it hurt me when I saw that DC prefers to. It seems like they prefer to cast based on the look of people rather
Well,
than if they're the best fit.
let
Not
me
all in
ask
all
you
cases.
this:
Not in all cases.
do you think Arnold Schwarzenegger is a good actor?
I think he is a good actor in certain respects. I think he's a great actor in certain respects, but like does
I'm trying to get like they both have obviously like a physical presence. That's primarily why they're casting
let,
movies.
let's rephrase that. Is Arnold Schwarzenegger a better actor than Jason Momoa? Hell yeah, by a lot.
Okay.
by a lot, like a lot.
Mhm.
There's like if you watch any of Arnold Schwarzenegger's comedic movies, like it takes a lot to get an audience to laugh at a joke
Mhm.
when you want them to laugh at a joke, right? And so make no mistake, like Arnold Schwarzenegger has amazing comedic timing, and that is not something that an untrained actor can do. You know what I mean? I know they tried to make me laugh in Aquaman and Last Kingdom a lot of times, and I did not laugh. It wasn't funny to me. It was boring. And so I think if you're trying to say that just because like when you want an action kind of hero, you kind of sacrifice a certain level of quality, I don't think that's true.
Mhm.
I think Jason Momoa is just a great, I think he's a cool guy. I think like from what he presents to the media and stuff like that, I think he's a really cool, interesting looking person. I think he's got a great body for superhero movies. I don't
Dorito.
think, yeah, he's got a Dorito. Well, with a lot of CG, he's got a Dorito for sure, a Dorito body. But I just don't think, I don't think he made me understand like who Aquaman is as a person. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like the way that Robert Downey Jr. makes me know who Tony Stark is as a person, or the way Chadwick Boseman makes me know who Black Panther is. You know what I mean? Like it's, some actors are just, they inhabit a character, and other ones show up and say, "Hell yeah, let's go." Like, and it's, you know what I mean? Like it's,
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely there's a B movie aspect to the plot and the writing in the Aquaman films that I
yes,
think it's fun. What was my thing in Slack? I'm like, you go to Benihana once, right? And it's pretty cool. Like you have a really great time because you never seen the flips and they throw the shrimp at you in the volcano. And then you go back, you take some more friends, like, hey, let's go to Benihana. Like,
it's the same
the
trick
second
every
time
fucking
around,
day.
it's not kind of, it's like, it's cool, but it's not, it doesn't hit the same. You've seen it before.
I told my wife that analogy, and she says, "Yeah, but the thing about Benihana's is it's not even actually that good." Like, and I was
There
like,
you go. But
fair
yeah, I
enough.
mean, you can
Yeah.
say that. I think you can say the same thing about
Aquaman.
the Aquaman, the Transformers films, the
Yeah.
whatever I told you, Fast and Furious. They're fun movies, but fun as I think I constantly preach on this show. Fun and good are very different things.
Oh, dude, Jason Momoa in the last Fast and the Furious movie was terrible. He, that character was a choice that he played. It was a series of choices that didn't make
But was
any
it
sense at
fun?
all. No, I hated that movie so
Um,
much. It wasn't fun. But
like,
yeah,
but really, the dialogue in this movie felt very like almost like a kid's like DC movie at some points, and like just the quippiness
yeah,
and the
it
brotherly, slapping chops with each other. Like people don't talk like that.
yeah, it felt weird, man. It felt like, I'm gonna be honest. Like I think, so we can back up a minute and talk about like the plot of this movie, like as it
Mhm.
was presented. As it was presented, do I think that the plot was supposed to be more than it was presented? Yes. I think the legal battles that were highly exposed to the world with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp made things very awkward for the production of this movie. And it is clearly evident in certain parts of this movie that there is like superimposed Amber Heard
Yes, I
faces.
was gonna say they are not in the same room in a
Yeah,
handful of their shots, and it is very clear.
it's very obvious how many times she's not in the same scene as him, but they make it look like she is. And with that said, I'm only going to critique the movie we got. Like, we could talk for ends and endlessly about like, would it have been better if they had clearly not edited the crap out of this with Amber Heard, or without her. But the movie we got was like, okay, it starts as, once again, Aquaman narrating and telling you this time about how, he's got a double responsibility. He's now the king of Atlantis and slash Justice League member, but also he's a dad,
They don't
and
mention the Justice League.
Yeah, not really, but I think they mention that he's the Justice League member at some point in the movie, like because he's like Aquaman and stuff like that. But he's got this double life, and every time they show him raising his kid for a while, I was like, wait, did mom die already? Like it's very awkward.
Yeah,
It's a lot
they
of
don't.
scenes.
Yeah, they don't really like show her for like
It's
a
it's
good
a
while.
it's a lot of parenting scenes that don't involve mom, which is very. I'm not saying it's unheard of. I'm saying if the mom is in the picture, it's pretty hard to separate mom from a toddler. You know what I mean? Like usually, like when infants are at a certain age, mom is not far away. And so it took several scenes before they finally brought in a mom into the scenario. And you're like, okay, she is in the picture. Got it. All right, cool. And
It
so they
it was if you know
established
what it felt like the Comic-Con for the first movie. They
the first
had for the first movie, whatever that year was, it was Aquaman
20
and
2018 or
yes,
2017.
and Fantastic Beasts, and they had
Mm-hmm.
we were, I mean, the Amber Heard Johnny Depp shit was going on back then,
Mm-hmm.
and they had before the panel, like half the fun is like, oh, who are they going to bring? Do you think if they bring this person, that means they can't bring that person?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Surprise! Warner Brothers brought both of them, and it was very weird in that Comic Con panel.
They were both there
They were both there. They brought Johnny Depp
for
and Amber
Fantastic
Heard.
Beast
Yeah,
and
Johnny
Amber
Depp.
Heard for Aquaman
Yeah,
too,
separate
or for
movies,
Aquaman,
but
yeah.
the same green room.
That green room was rough, man. That's pretty awesome. I
But
gotta
that's how I
ask
felt
you
with this
some
movie.
questions.
Like going in with that knowledge and like, oh, she's not here. He has a kid, and oh, there she is.
Yeah,
And then
it
they
was
they
weird, right?
they sideline her ass back. They like take her back
And
out.
then yeah, for whatever reason, like the movie, like even though she's in a lot of shots, she doesn't talk in a lot of shots. And then eventually you see the plot of the movie kind of jumps, it switches from, okay, now we know he's a dad, his kid's got fish talking powers. Cool, he's not alone in the world, blah blah blah. And then we just switch gears over to uh uh Black Manta, and he's still being Black Manta. He's still on his crazy revenge kick. It escalates. Like he's got Randall Park, who was in the first movie, um, searching for Atlantean tech to help him repair his Atlantean tech made power suit, right? And in the process, they end up discovering a lost kingdom that, like, I'm gonna be honest, it stunk of something like out of a Jeff Johns comic book. Like
McColcum
Orichalcum
or
was
Calcum.
the that I believe is a DC metal or something that's existed, or substance that's existed for a while. I don't think that's just DC related. I think there's a Greek. I think that's a Greek thing, that term. But in any case, Black Manta discovers the ancient lost seventh kingdom of Atlantis called Necrus. He discovers things that are pointing him towards
The
Necrus.
tech, Necros tech.
Yeah, Necrus tech. He discovers a trident. He touches it, puts it together, and suddenly he gets visions, and he's being talked to by some evil entity that looks like some generic CG DC bad guy, like they all do. Like it's just the most generic
He's not is
CG.
he's not a known quantity.
He might be, and I don't really care if he is. Like it's
I
just terrible.
I want to give it a win. The Black Manta suit and tech and all his like his submarine and shit. That looked cool. That looked good.
Yeah, the
Ve-
Black Widow stuff always looked cool. Like
I
I never
appreciated his henchmen. They all had an aesthetic. They all had like a suit. I don't think we've gotten
it,
like proper henchmen in any superhero
he
movie.
had all his henchmen dressed like him, and that I thought that was pretty
That was
hilarious.
cool.
Yes,
That was cool.
yes. But so the plot is set in motion. Basically, Black Mana is going around finding. He's stealing long lost orichalcum deposits, or not long lost, but they've been safely guarded by the Atlanteans all over the ocean. He's stealing them, and when they find out, apparently these things are they can super accelerate global warming and make the Earth even way worse than it ever is right now. So the Atlanteans are like, oh no, this guy's gonna do bad things. We need Aquaman to go save the day. But Aquaman's like, oh, I can't do it by myself. I need somebody who knows stuff for whatever reason. So they go and get Patrick Wilson, who's who's playing Orm, his brother that they put in prison, and it becomes a buddy cop movie where a reluctant, bad guy has to team up to stop a greater threat.
All I'm saying is, this kind of seems like a Justice League problem.
I agree. I agree entirely. I agree entirely.
Not even a Justice League, a Superman, a Wonder Woman could have probably taken care of this pretty quickly.
I feel like, well, no, you know what could have taken care of this really quickly? Mira. Mira and or Aquaman actually using Aquaman powers. Aquaman does not use Aquaman powers until the last 10 minutes of the movie, dude. And that is rough. Like, I was like, why are you not using your Aquaman powers to solve all of these problems?
He's not just faster? Strong.
He talks to fish. He controls fish.
He did the radar thing, sonar.
Yes, in the last 10 minutes of the movie. That's what I'm saying.
The last 10 minutes?
Yes. Wow. Last 15 minutes, something like that. Yes. That was the first and only time he used his Aquaman powers in the entire movie.
But he had his buddy Topo the whole time. You know, everyone's favorite Topo, the spy.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, he could have asked all the fish, hey, where's Black Manta? Or he could have sent an army of killer whales after Black Manta. Like, so many different things he could have done. Even worse, Mira literally controls water. So, like, at one point when she's confronting a bunch of bad Necros warriors or whatever, like, in the water, I'm like, oh, you guys are just done. This is not even, like, and she starts, like, making, like, tiny ice spears. And I was like, you are thinking too small, my dear. Like, you control the thing that they all exist in. Why? This is like it should be like a cleric in D&D casting 10th level turn undead. Like, it's just over. The fight's over. Like, but it just wasn't, it was weird to me. So I think that's kind of the bigger problem I always have with these DC movies, because these Justice League characters, like, we got to make something clear. Avengers are awesome. The Justice League are gods. Like, that's basically what they are. They've always been gods. Like, they are the most godlike beings. And I know that DC thinks that that's the reason they've got.
You mean they are the center in their universe? Like,
they are the most badass things in the universe, period. Okay. You know what I mean? Okay. Like, the Avengers get away with things by the skin of their teeth because they've got grit and they've got gumption and they've got
friendship.
They've got the friendship and the will to survive and all these things. The Justice League just have all the powers, like the powers.
Other species know about Superman.
Yes, a lot of species.
That's why they don't come to Earth, is because they know Superman will fuck them up.
Exactly. That is 100%. And if other species knew that Aquaman also lived there too, it would be even worse. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like they know there's Atlanteans there, right? That's what Doomsday, right? He knew there was Aquaman.
But you know what I mean, though. Yeah, like, I'm saying Aquaman is no joke to be, like, scoffed at. Like, Aquaman versus Superman is a pretty, I'm not gonna say it's a fair fight, but it's still a pretty good fight. You know what I mean? Like, it's not Superman cannot one-shot Aquaman, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are all on a crazy scale, and I think the problem with the crazy scale is sometimes, for the sake of telling a story, you have to downplay the scale of their powers, because otherwise the story just ends too fast. And so I think,
let me ask you this then. I know I'm stopping you. The power scale in Man of Steel that was showed, yay or nay?
Sometimes yay.
Okay.
Sometimes nay.
Okay.
Like that's what I'm saying, is it's inconsistent. Like, it's weird to me when, like, Superman can, like,
So you're pro the city getting destroyed at the end of that movie?
Oh, no. the scale. We're talking about the scale
Like,
of
well, the
his
powers,
power.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Their fighting is that
You're
intense.
no, you got to be careful. You're asking me if I'm pro the city getting destroyed.
I'm
No, no, I'm not
as
pro
part of
that.
their scale. Are you? But that, you know what I'm saying. That
Am I
visualization.
pro? Am I pro? This establishing that a Kryptonian has that level of power that he can completely Dragon Ball Z a city. Yeah, I get
Okay.
that. That's fine. But what I'm saying is when you show me in Aquaman 1 that Aquaman can show up at the end of the movie with, to quote my wife again, I've never seen more things on a screen. Like it is all the fish ever, right? It's like everything. The fish is so many fish that there's fish on fish and there's particle effects that are fish of fish. Like so many fish in that movie that he all controls. Like he controls them all.
Mm-hmm.
And what are we doing? What are we
You got
doing
like
in
you
the
got like
second
two
movie?
fish in this movie.
What are we doing in the second movie, man? Like I don't understand. Like why are we even wasting our time other than you want to tell a fun story for the audience that ultimately, I don't know. What do you think? What was the story fun? Was the team up with Orm interesting to you? Did what did you like
No,
about this?
like Orm honestly felt like a different character in this movie.
A little bit, a little
And
bit.
he didn't really feel like he's reform or changing. He just felt aloof, like or I it wasn't my cup of tea. The only thing I liked in this movie probably was Black Manta. He he went so far into the mustache twirling villain
He went
that
hard
that
into
it
mustache twirling.
became good, and I think that's because he. Just the flip side, right? Aquaman's not doing Aquaman things. Black Manta did a lot of cool Black Manta things. He uses
In the in
stupid eyes.
at the end of the movie, he did cool
He's
things. Like yeah,
swimming. He has his little gadgets. Again, his crew all looks the same. He has like the weird hammerhead shark shaped sub that's like steampunky and shit. Like, yeah,
yeah.
that's like nice justice. What are the Justice Friends ass Black Manta
Super friends.
Super
Yeah, yeah.
Friends? Cheese that I can appreciate his stuff. And again, what was cool about
He
him.
was he was pretty one note, right?
Yeah,
Like
he's
his
one note the
character.
whole time, and then when he gets foiled at the end, like he at the end of it, he's just a guy. So
Yeah.
like he's off the table for like the last 5 minutes of the film because like they just take his
They
shit, they take off his
they
his suit
they
basically.
they take his superpowers away, and then it's like, oops, I suck again. Yeah,
You
like
got me
that's
this time,
yeah,
Aquaman.
yeah. I think I'm okay with that. I like your take on that because like I think when I saw the first movie, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, I know you're a better actor than this, and I kind of feel like maybe maybe they will redeem your character in the second movie and you'll get to be even more interesting and more fun and stuff. And I won't say he wasn't more fun in the second movie because he kind of was like but he wasn't more interesting to me. Like he didn't
Well, he was more in place. You got to remember in the first movie, you first meet him in the sub, right? Basically, and he's no suit. He's just a pirate. He
yeah,
looks cool, but he's not Black Manta. And
yeah.
then you see him halfway through the movie, right, for the big fight
And he
scene
gets
in
his ass
Italy.
kicked. And he gets his
But
ass kicked.
he's Black Manta fighting on land,
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
right? Like that's not his thing. He swims and shit. So to
Fair
see him
enough.
in the water, like to be fair, like Yaga's not in this movie like at all.
Yeah, it's mostly
He
CG. It's a
is mostly
CG Black
CG.
Manta. Yeah.
So, like
It's fair. It's fair.
so he's in the
You're
water
right. You're right.
doing his thing, and sure, that's cool to me.
Yeah, all the Black Manta action looked freaking awesome in this movie. That was probably my top thing about this movie. Like I would say 90% of the movie I was struggling to stay awake. And then I noticed when it finally got down to Aquaman versus Black Manta at the end of the movie, I woke up and I was sitting up in my seat and I was like, all right, we're finally here. We're doing this. I'm
Like he
enjoying
stole
myself.
his baby. Like that's
He
as
stole his
evil
baby
ass
and he was going to kill
villain
it. Yes.
like as you can get.
Well, not quite because I happen to have the benefit of my good friend Ray that is like it's his favorite character is Aquaman, and I had actually I've known him for like 20 something years, and we went to the trouble of the first movie going to making an event to go see it with him. We even went and ate at Red Lobster before the movie and stuff. Like, we did a whole thing, right? It was a whole spectacle, and that was pre-COVID world. And post-COVID, I'm always trying to go to the movies by myself as fast as I can to see the movie so that we can come and talk about it. I was not trying to invite people or make it an event, but guess who showed up at my theater at the same time to watch my show? It was Ray. He was there. And I was like, oh, cool. So now I'm actually not watching this by myself, when I'm sitting by myself, but when the movie ends, I will have somebody to talk to about this movie. And Ray, it was a very similar take to your Benihana's analogy, which is he was very bored in this one. He was very asleep. He did like the Black Manta stuff. He did feel that the first movie always has his heart a little bit more because as an Aquaman fan, the first movie had the hype behind it, right?
Yeah.
It was exciting to finally see. It was exciting to see an Aquaman movie, the first Aquaman movie ever. Mm-hmm. This movie didn't have any of that hype, and we didn't know what it had going for it. But what he said to me was really disturbing because I asked him how much it was like the comics. Because make no mistake, guys, I do not read Aquaman comics. But he said, there was a point where I thought they were going to do the thing they do in the comics and kill the baby. And I was like, whoa, like that's dark. That's dark. He's like, yeah, they killed the baby in the comics. And so when you said that's about the worst thing Black Manta can do, well, now I know better. Now I know better. He could have done way worse. It
would have been a much better movie if he killed the baby.
Right? It kind of would have. And that's our quote for the day, ladies and gentlemen.
If you have a baby, kill it in your movie.
Aquaman 2 would have been better if he killed the baby. No, but in fairness, though, there's a lot of fake outs, right? Like, there's a moment where Amber Heard, you think she's dead.
Yeah.
Like Black Manta.
Oh, I thought they were going to do it too because of the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Black Manta totally like just like it looked like he obliterated her, and it just wasn't that. Like, the next scene, she's in the hospital recovering, and I'm like, ugh. And then later, Tamora Morrison, Black Manta shows up, super awesome looking, stabs Grandpa in the guts and says, I'm not gonna kill you because I want you alive for them to see you die.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, that line is hurting my brain. But I think he's gonna die. Is he not gonna die? No. And then sure enough, he's in the hospital next day. And so they just kept pulling their punches, and to the point where I was like, I know it sounds bad. I know this is going on YouTube forever and ever and ever. I kind of wanted to see the baby die. Like, is that weird? Like, is it like, I don't know. But they just pulled a lot of punches in this movie, right? Like, or even Orm. If Orm died, that would have been cool too, right?
Yeah, like dying.
Yeah,
anyone dying. Really, like no
one died in this movie.
Black Manta died. Well, he falls to his.
Black Manta did not die, bro, and he didn't die. So I think that's the hard part of the movie is like I just kept wanting something to pull me in and
the stakes to get like really set. But
yeah. And the old one did have it did bore me a lot, but it had better stakes. It had a more clearly established like goal in mind, right?
Movie.
Yeah, like this movie was kind of like we're all over the place, and then in the last 20 minutes they're like, oh no, he needs the blood of a king, but he doesn't have one because it's you, me, and mom, right? No, there's another one. And it's like, oh man,
a dumb scene.
And then it just goes into a weird MacGuffin hunt all over again, right? Like, it's like that was weird. And so like it's very disjointed. It does feel like Amber Heard probably had a story arc that she didn't get to have. And it makes it weirder. But I think this movie, Tenacious D. I feel like I appreciate that you're showing up to talk about this movie with us, and apologies if we're spoiling it for you, but Yeah, it wasn't a great one for us. It wasn't a great one.
It's a bummer that the DCU goes out like this. You know, their last 3 movies, right? Shazam, Flash, and this.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and
have
Black Adam. And Black Adam.
Black Adam before Shazam too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Black Adam. You like Black Adam, from my understanding, right?
I do, but the world does not like Black Adam.
It's
And
it's. I think it's a mid movie. That a hot take?
I think all of them are mid movies.
Well,
Is they
what's
all four of
crazy
them,
is
all
like
four of them.
Shazam did really bad, but that was kind of expected. The Flash was their summer tentpole, and that movie is like one of the worst performing movies of all time.
But it's also pretty mid too. Like
Oh yeah, it's
story,
bad. It's bad.
like especially on the heels of Beyond the
Of the yeah,
Spider-Verse or
well,
across the Spider-Verse.
and they have
Like
their
it
whole Ezra shit going on too.
Yes, exactly. But like the fact that like I think audiences are getting a little overdosed on multiverse shenanigans really fast, right? Like because everybody's doing that. Like, and in fairness, even non-comic people, right? Like everything everywhere all at once won the Academy Award last year. You know what I mean? Like it's everywhere. Like you can't get
Is
away from
it
multiverse
multiverse
stories.
fatigue or superhero fatigue?
Well, I think in the case of the Flash, it might be both. Like, right?
Well,
It's
this
like
too.
both.
Well,
What's
I guess
that?
not this. It's not multiverse, but
Yeah, I don't think it's the case with Aquaman. I think the case with Aquaman is not it's different nowadays than it was back in the like the 90s or 2000s, right? Like everybody's way more uh tuned in or dialed in to the behind the scenes stuff or what's going on in the backdrop, like in the background of the movie production. I think it's just hard to not know these things. So if you go on TikTok or what anywhere showing you like, oh, this new bit of juicy news that you didn't know about the movie. And so I think like, that's what made for you the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing awkward, at Comic-Con, because who didn't know about that, right? Like who didn't know about
no one
that?
in that
And so
room did not know about that. I'll say that.
exactly. And so what I'm saying is that adds an unnecessary bit of stain to a movie that makes people know. Like people know Amber Heard's in Aquaman because you know how they know? Because that movie made over $1 billion last time around. People know that Amber Heard is part of that universe. And so it's not helping the movie that already feels like when you see the trailer, you're like, oh, this is the story we're telling. We're telling the buddy cop story where we just bring back the bad guy from the last movie to be a team up with you know what I mean? There's no real new bad guys in this movie, right?
No,
Except for
there's
except for
no new characters in this movie
yeah,
aside from
well
the
there's
baby.
there's there's Necris guy. I forget his name, honestly. Like I can't remember the real enemy's name because like he's from Necris. Uh
King Necris.
it's not it's not his name. That's not his name, but he's in it for like a minute as like a joke, right? Like at the end of the movie. And it's like I can't with these. And he's not even a real person. It's a CG monster thingy. So yeah, I don't know that I wanted to see all the characters from the first movie come back to just do another adventure together. Like I think I wanted new stories with more fish and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, show me different fish. Show me things I've never seen. Teach me about aquatic life. You know what I mean? Like,
Kordax is
yeah,
the name
thank
of
you.
it.
Thank you. Yeah. And they are from the comics too, like I said. And then also like they didn't get Willem Dafoe to come back because I guess scheduling
Did he
conflicts.
die?
So they made his character die in the story, yes. But yeah, it was scheduling conflicts. He couldn't come back, and so they kind of just tweaked it to be Nicole Kidman's character became kind of the more advisor and stood in, filled in for the Volko roles, which
Mhm.
was kind of a bummer because he was easily the best actor in the previous movie. And so, yeah, it just suffers from a lot of like missed opportunities and it just could have been something better than it was. And honestly, I don't really like the way the movie ends with Jason Momoa saying, "And I'm Aquaman." Yeah, like it's
I see. I see. Well, it's like in the first one in his like speech where he said, "I am Aquaman." But to be at a
But
press conference does New York City exist in the DC universe?
yeah,
Okay. I thought Metropolis was like its analog. Um,
no, all real cities exist in it, and
in a
also
in
and
addition.
and also the made up ones.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
But
somehow
yes, the microphone press conference, I am Aquaman was a choice for sure.
it was a choice, and that is for it to end like that.
And that's it.
It was rough.
That's the end of
That's
the DC universe.
well, and then we got to see Orm eating a burger, and
Yes.
so you know, which
Yes.
I actually kind of like that scene, and I kind of wanted to eat a burger afterwards. Like I'm not gonna lie. I gotta say, truthfully, like for me, Patrick Wilson was my favorite character in this movie. Orm, I thought Orm was the only character that actually had a real arc. You know, like he did cool. He did have a cool arc. I do agree with you that he felt different from the other movie, but I also felt like that was in part because he had been imprisoned, and
Mhm.
and and I think the benefit of the way he got imprisoned in the first movie was he kind of, I mean, yeah, he started a war for sure. There's a lot of blood on his hands. There's also a lot of blood on Aquaman's hands too. So, I'm gonna just let war, you know, let them both be guilty of sins on that side. But besides that, Orm didn't really go around doing a lot of heinous things in the first movie. So it left him in a place where he was redeemable. And so I didn't mind that we got a redemption arc with him. You know what I mean? Like, and I got like
They gave
that
him
was cool.
the Boba Fett ending or the not the Boba Fett ending, the Bill Burr ending from The Mandalorian.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I thought you
exactly.
died. I
Yeah,
saw him die.
exactly. And so I kind of like that because I like the idea that this character could be redeemed, but let's not fool ourselves into believing that these characters might return. Nope, they're gone. They're gone. They're all gone. We're done. We're done with this universe,
Well,
probably.
Momoa as Lobo. Do you like Lobo?
I don't like Lobo, but I also never liked Venom, or I wasn't a big fan of the Punisher back in the 90s
Yeah.
either. And those are all kind of
I
in the
don't like
same
Lobo. They're
that's the
yeah,
same it's the
same.
same kind of fan
It's a Venn diagram overlaps for sure.
yeah, there's a Venn diagram overlap. Absolutely. And so have I read Lobo comics that are funny? Yes. He is very Deadpool-y he's a cross between Deadpool and like the Punisher or something like that. Like
Mhm.
it's a weird hybrid character. He's interesting. He's definitely gender swapped before, so he could do that, and he could end up not being a he in the movies.
Mhm.
Um, and that would be fine, and people would be upset because they wouldn't know that that's actually happened in the comics, and we'd do that cycle all over again. But I don't know that I need it to be Momoa. Like I said, man, I don't think he's a great actor. Like I don't think he is. And I think I want the thing I want
I don't
more
think
than any.
he proclaims himself to be a great actor either. I'll say that.
I'm not saying he does, but I'm saying I kind of want to see the DC universe treated with the respect that Batman usually gets treated with nowadays, right?
Mhm.
Like come on, man. Christian Bale and Robert Pattinson are like bringing some
There
serious
is like for I think lack
serious
of better phrasing,
acting.
Shakespeareaness to Batman as opposed to the other characters in that universe.
But that's only because the people who have been in charge of the movies are terrible at it. Like they're terrible at adapting it. But like Aquaman is a very Shakespearean character, dude. He has to fight his brother to take over the kingdom. Like, what are you not? It's totally Shakespearean.
I
Like,
know. Yeah, I see the pieces, but yeah, I do. I agree with you. I think more y- to your point that these characters are gods, right? That I think I would like to see them as portrayed as such. They're very
well,
complex characters.
here's the trick with that. Because they're gods and because the things they do are so godly, it makes it hard to relate to them. So what we need is not someone who looks the part to
Hmm.
bring the audience in to connect. We need somebody that is relatable to the audience, right? Like, you need to be able to look at them and listen to them and be like, okay, yeah, I get it, I feel it, right? And I think Gal Gadot, aside from a lot of the Batmans, I think Gal Gadot's done the best job of that of anybody, right? Because like, I think people just love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman because it feels right, right?
There's
She's a
no,
good,
there's heroes. What was I gonna say? Gods make choices, and heroes save everybody. And I
yeah,
think with Gal Gadot and with Batman, their stories, you do see them making choices.
yes,
It's not a win and save the day. It's a win, but at what cost? Usually with those characters.
yes,
And
yes.
the
That's pretty good.
the
That's pretty
second
good.
part of that is where that emotion comes in, and that's what makes the stories interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's what I mean. I think that's what made.
But they have to sell it though.
They
Like,
have to
they
sell
have
it.
to
They
sell
have
it,
to sell it.
like, and I don't think I've ever been sold on anything Jason Momoa has been putting out there for me. Other than, if you're here for a fun time, I'm your guy. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not what I like. I need the
He's the
DC
party
universe.
dude. He's your college boyfriend. He's a good
Yeah,
time.
he has a good time.
But you don't. Once you graduate, you got your degree. You gotta get a little serious. And
Once life gets a little bit like more serious, exactly, you don't want to be hanging out with that guy, and he's still being that guy after all this time. You know what I
and
mean?
he's
Like,
not wrong for being that guy.
no, we're not telling you you're wrong for being at it. We're just telling you you're not that great of an actor.
Well,
I mean, he's not gonna make me cry anytime soon. You know what I mean? Like, I believe that Robert Pattinson was gonna be such an amazing Batman. Um, no, because of the body of work, most of the movies I'd seen him in, I wasn't sure about it. But like, I know there are Robert Pattinson movies that I had not seen that would have changed my mind at the time. But when I saw him, I was like, okay, man,
yeah,
I get it.
there's
I
stuff
get it.
there.
You're a Batman. You're another flavor of Batman. I I don't want any more flavors of this Aquaman. I want a different Aquaman. I want a clean one, and for that merit, I think on the same one, I think I kind of don't want him to be Lobo for the same reason. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't be opposed to it because I think he always believed he was born to play that character, and he was slightly disappointed that he ended up being
I
Aquaman.
wouldn't mind him as Lobo, but don't mistake that as I want a Lobo movie.
Yes, that's fair
And
enough.
I
But
think,
you're gonna get
yeah,
Lobo in probably a Superman movie though.
yeah, I think that's fine. I think Lobo, a peppering of a Lobo, a Jason Momoa Lobo. I think
Yeah,
sure, let's do it.
yeah, because Lobo's more fun, right? He's not,
Mhm.
and so I think he works better in that capacity. So let's see it. I'm all on board. I'm not opposed. I just think I need a break from Jason
Mhm.
Momoa right now
Well,
because
you're getting a break from him, and you're getting a break from DC for a year because Superman ain't coming out till 2025.
fair enough.
So
Fair enough. That's rough.
that is
Well,
rough. This movie was
then,
rough.
but we'll still get a Peacemaker probably before that, right? Or no?
Yeah, I think we'll have to find out. Stay tuned to Comic Con 2024.
Fair enough. All
Fair
right.
enough.
Well, I
What
got
do
nothing else to add to
you got?
this.
Nothing. I got nothing. What are we talking about next week or next?
We're going to talk about our great Christmas present that we're receiving right now, starting today, and then for the next few days, every until next week.
The next
What
Friday
if?
or next Saturday?
I think it's done before next Friday. Yeah. But what if episode 1 aired today? Episode 2 will be tomorrow, 3, 4, and so on until the season ends for season 2. So I'm excited. I saw the first episode today. It was what if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? I loved it. I'm sure Ricky had different opinions, but you don't get to know those until next week.
Stay tuned to find out, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, true believers, enough said.